Welcome to this week's edition of Outdoors Online, a weekly webcast produced by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. I'm your host, Mike Anderson. Due to the uncertain times with the COVID-19 virus, we're going to be practicing social distancing in our weekly webcast. The look will look a little different, but we'll continue to bring you the great content. My guest this week is Fisheries Development Supervisor Bob Frohlich. Bob, you're in charge of all the boat ramps and a lot of the docks and stuff around the state. Your crews are busy at this time of year.
Yep, that's right, Mike. You know, this time of the year in the spring like this, Mother Nature is starting to, loosen her grip on our lakes and rivers that we have, and things are starting to open and thaw up, and so our crews are getting really active, really busy out there. And like a lot of businesses in this country, we're forced to try to get 12 months worth of field activities done in a really short window, a 6-month open water period. So things are really busting loose right now, and the guys are hitting it pretty hard.
They're going around the state fixing ramps and other things at boat ramps that have ice damage from the winter.
They are. They go around. They fix damaged boat ramps that got buckled up from the ice. They also are hauling around docks. We spend the winter months fixing docks and fishing piers here, and then they're delivering them to other lakes and entities around the state and installing them for the first time. And then we're also doing signing and stuff and maintenance activities that are required.
Bob, last fall was one of the wettest years on record. Lakes are full of water. How does that help with access?
You're right, Mike. Last year in North Dakota here, we were one of the wettest, especially in the eastern and southeast part of the state. 18 out of the last 25 years, North Dakota has had above average precipitation, and 2019 was actually the record. Out of the last 110 years, we set the record. So that did fill up a lot of our lakes and reservoirs that we have, and so access is good. It did flood and inundate a couple of our sites, and those will have to go back in this spring and try to reestablish boating access at those sites.
Okay, you mentioned that your crews are putting docks in lakes and rivers around the state. Explain that partnership between us and the Wahpeton School of Science.
It is, and it's a great partnership that we've had with the North Dakota State College of Science down in Wahpeton, and then they have a branch up in Fargo. We've had that now for about 11, 12 years, and they basically build the dock frames for us, and then we take the frame and we add the decking, the bumpers, the wheel assemblies and stuff to it during the winter months, and it's just a win-win, because we get a quality product at a good price. And the School of Science, they have students that are in that welding program, and they get hands-on experience with a real-world activity and stuff. So it's just a great partnership.
Every year you guys do 1 or 2 new ramps. Anything planned for this year?
Yes, we have 4 or 5 new boat ramp projects planned. 2 of those are ramp extensions, where we're extending the top or bottom of a boat ramp. The other 3 are new ramps. We have one down in Emmons County, Rice Lake, which was due because of the high water situation. We also have one up in McHenry County at Round Lake, and then we're doing one on the Park River over in Grafton over there. So we don't do a lot of new boat ramp projects. A lot of those have been in place over years, but the ones that we do are very time-consuming and take up a lot of time and resources.
Explain that, Bob. You don't just show up at a lake that doesn't have a ramp and say, we're going to put one right here. Explain that process.
Yeah, it's kind of a complicated process, I guess. The first thing we have to do is identify a suitable site, and we define a suitable site as a site that has both a willing landowner and then has the proper topography both above the water line and out into the water. And so a lot of times we have one but not the other. Sometimes we'll have a landowner who says you can put a ramp in here, but when we check the depth profile, it's too shallow or too steep. And other times we have a perfect site that we'd like to put one in, but the landowner, for one reason or another, doesn't want to grant us an easement. So we look for a suitable site, and then once we have a site, there's lots of permits and approvals that we have to obtain, and then lining up different contractors and acting as a foreman to coordinate the construction of the actual ramp.
Okay, let's move on to fish cleaning stations. We have how many around the state?
We have about 62 fish cleaning stations right now, and it's kind of an exciting time for us with fish cleaning stations. We've traditionally had the same type. There was only one in the country that was a turnkey type operation. It was out of California. So that's what most of our stations are to date. There's another company came online last year. They're out of Iowa. We decided to experiment and try something with them, and we put in 7 new stations of theirs last year, and we've had, outstanding results, exceptional. I mean, the public and our own people are using them, and everybody likes them. So we're going ahead and we're putting in 7 more of those this year, and I think down the road you'll just see us transition slowly from, what the old ones, and as they wear out, to these newer style stations, which are a lot more durable and reliable.
How is access on the bigger bodies of water?
Access on our big 3, Sakakawea, Oahe, and Devil's Lake, at this time is very, very well. Sakakawea, there were times back in the 80s when we were going into a drought type period where at this time of the year in the spring, in March and April, we only had 1 usable boat ramp on the entire lake. Right now we've probably got 40 on Sakakawea. Oahe's kind of in the same boat. We've got, the Missouri River system has got good water, good flows, good at lake elevations, and so things are really well. Up on Devil's Lake, it's kind of holding its own, I guess. We've got 11 usable boat ramps, and things are looking well. We don't expect any problems up there either.
You have a small crew. You have a lot of partnerships with wildlife clubs and parks and recs and so forth. Explain that partnership a little bit.
Well, we do. We only have 2 people that work in the field, and so they cover the entire state. And as you know, with 450 lakes and several thousand facilities out there, it'd just be impossible for us to do it all. And the other thing is that, most of those facilities are not owned or managed by the Game and Fish Department. Most of those lakes and surrounding parks or whatever are owned by the managing entity, whether it's a park board, a water board, or a wildlife club. And so we rely heavily on those folks for not only a cost share to initially develop the facility, but then also for the long-term maintenance of it, to pick up the garbage, put the docks in and out, and just overall maintenance of the site.
Bob, during these uncertain times with the COVID-19 virus, how is that affecting your crew doing their work, essentially?
Yeah, well, as you would expect, Mike, we're not immune to it like anybody else, and the COVID-19 virus has definitely affected not only our activities and how we, get work done, but also, how we take certain measures to protect the public. So we took measures and had signs constructed, and we went around the state and put those up in areas that we suspected there would be high spring fishing activity for shore anglers, and to maintain social distancing. We also worked with the City of Devil's Lake for them to close their Four Seasons fish cleaning station up there, which is a high use, high touch area. And then here just within the last week, we sent out a letter to all 160 entities regarding fishing piers, strongly recommending that they not install the fishing piers at this time, again, because they are pinch points, they concentrate people, and it's just hard to maintain that social distance and keep the virus from spreading. And then even as we speak now, it's just a day-to-day thing. We're looking at all the facilities out there, fish cleaning stations, vault toilets, parks. Most of the campgrounds have been closed by other entities, and we're just monitoring that and just making sure we can do whatever we can to protect the public.
And Game and Fish is reminding anglers practice social distancing when fishing too.
Absolutely, yes. We don't want anybody to stop fishing. It's a great activity. It's a good way to social distance. We have a lot of water in the state. We have a lot of fish, and so we encourage everybody to get out and fish.
A lot of great information, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you do decide to use a boat ramp in North Dakota, make sure your motorized watercraft has a current registration. You can get a new registration or renew your registration by visiting the Game and Fish Department's website at gf.nd.gov. For Fisheries Development Supervisor Bob Frohlich and the rest of the staff here at the Game and Fish Department, thanks for joining us for this week's Outdoors Online. We'll see you again next week.